This re-review for Galaxy Kart has been a long time coming. When it first launched, I had a myriad of complaints, ranging from graphical issues to a complete lack of content. And because of that, I gave it a 3.5 out of 10, and couldn't really recommend it to anyone. But there was something special there, something magical that a lot of developers just never capture, and that's how to make their game fun. And even in Galaxy Kart's original state, my friends and I were in there racing, laughing, and having a great time despite everything. That was over a year ago, and since then developer VR Monkey has listened to all of our complaints and fixed practically all of them. Galaxy Kart, for the most part, is your traditional kart racer. You get a handful of characters to choose from, each with their own special on a cooldown, and you can choose any vehicle you want, they all control the same. And then you and 5 other racers take to the tracks. This is when you see the first major improvement Galaxy Kart has to offer. It now runs at 90 frames per second rather than 120 reprojected, and that helps convey the sense of speed considerably. Everything's a lot sharper now too. And when you learn where all the shortcuts and speed boosts are, the racing can get pretty fast and furious. There's the precision speed boost you can get off the starting line, and you can even drift around corners, which helps recharge your special attack faster. There's also optional collision now, which means you can have a total pileup at the starting line if you're not careful, which is always hilarious. And not being able to blast straight through someone obviously adds a lot more strategy to the race. Now listen, the ultimate way to play Galaxy Kart is to use a racing rig and one sense controller. It only supports generic force feedback, but having one hand on the wheel, using the pedals to accelerate, and your other hand to grab weapons and attack enemies is absolutely kart racing perfection. In fact, if you've ever been in a real go-kart before, this feels just like that. But if all you have are 2 sense controllers, then don't worry. The control scheme is similar, and you're just holding a virtual wheel now instead of a real one. The haptics never disappoint, and crashing through item crates at full speed triggers a strong jolt to the headset that only adds to the intensity of the race.
Don't worry, it's fine.
Over the last year, VR Monkey's also addressed the major issue of content. Only 4 tracks were included at launch, but since then, we've gotten update after update after update, adding more and more tracks, now delivered in 6 worlds with 3 tracks each. And honestly, they're all great. They have environmental obstacles, shortcuts, massive jumps, which feel incredible, and each world features a unique look. Something about racing through the grass in this Japanese-inspired track, or blasting through a field littered with sheep is just really satisfying. Now obviously the multiplayer is the real focus here, so fortunately it supports 6 players online with in-game voice chat. And somewhere over the last year, 6 tournaments for multiplayer get added too. Each one contains 3 races on different tracks, and it's definitely the best way to play when you've got a group together. But before you jump into multiplayer, you want to spend some time playing the single player campaign first, considering that's the only way to unlock new karts, unlock new racers, and it's a good excuse to explore the tracks, get to know them, figure out where the shortcuts and hazards are. And without 5 other players talking, it's way easier to appreciate the diverse soundtrack that tends to reflect the motif of each track, and the sound effects that feel like they're ripped straight out of a casino. It's a lot to take in, and the sound design can seem a little overwhelming, but overall, I'm really happy with the way the Galaxy Kart sounds. There are still some issues here and there, and some of these will matter to you and some won't. Most of the character specials are pretty effective, from the portal that transports you further ahead in the track to simple guns that'll make your opponents come to a screeching halt. But some just don't feel nearly as effective. Using the pirate's grappling hook can pull other carts back or help you maneuver sharp turns, but it requires far more precision and has a way more limited use case. You could argue that these characters are for more advanced players, and that might be true. But I've got dozens of hours in Galaxy Kart, and I tend to avoid using them unless I'm playing with some noobs. Sometimes the person in first place can get so far ahead that they're simply unstoppable, making me wish for a blue shell of some kind. Yeah, I said it. Which apparently is in the works. The developers even shared a picture of the so-called Mega Missile over on our Discord. Sometimes the physics act super wonky, and getting run off the track doesn't always trigger a respawn, so you might find yourself just stuck somewhere while everyone else finishes the race. So the fact that the developers are looking into adding a respawn button is truly a blessing. Currently there's no crossplay with Steam or Quest, but that's in the works too. So there are issues here and there, but considering just how many improvements have been made over the last year, I can't imagine that these won't be addressed at some point in the future. We've had a string of bad luck when it comes to VR kart racers over the last 8 years, with a handful of underwhelming titles and Dash Dash World failing to ever materialize on PSVR1 or PSVR2. And while Galaxy Kart isn't perfect by any stretch, I mean, it's a $20 budget game made by a small team, so it'll never have the polish of a AAA Mario Kart or Crash Team Racing. It's still somehow the best kart racer we've gotten in VR yet, and the developers deserve a ton of credit for all the improvements over the last year. It's come so far, looks and plays better than ever, now packs a ton of content, and is a great excuse to pull out your racing rig that you're probably only using for GT7 currently.